I kind of like to ask people a question. So, when you buy something, regardless where you buy it from, you go to Best Buy, you go to Target, you go to Bed Bath and Beyond for certain housewares. Say you don't want something, it's got a defect. You found that you bought the wrong size quilt for a bed, the wrong size spread for a couch, or you bought an Apple Watch and you don't like it, or there's something wrong with it. Or maybe you found a much better price online and you seek to return it to, say, Target or Best Buy. Why do they ask for a receipt or the card you paid with? That's a good question. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they can issue a store credit or a merchandise return card or, whatever. But generally they want a receipt. And why is that? Because it may not be a confirmation of a truth. When you look at an encounter, let's say I buy an Apple Watch Series 9 from Target, and let's say I get home and say, you know what, this is a lot of money to spend on this, I don't really want this now, so I return it. I could say, it doesn't really work with my software. That would be me providing, a fabrication of a fact in a story that's ultimately true. Because I bought something, I've got the receipt, they can see, it was bought at this location, this time, and using this medium of, currency, cash, debit card, whatever is used, to purchase, said item. That obviously gives a confirmation of a potential truth. Some things in this situation might not be true. I could put in a fake Apple Watch. I could just swap the bands for fake bands. I could have taken the charger out and put in a phony baloney one. The point is that they ask for stuff like that because it gives somewhat of a narrative of truth. It's accountability per se. Target, Best Buy, they have shareholders. They have people they report to. They are a publicly held company. There has to be a chain of accountability, so it's not just an anarchy of people doing what they want to forward what's best for them and only them, or their family and only their family. And obviously right now it's a system that works for the most part. We see a world of cyber threats, cyber terrorism, and cyber attacks. What would stop some Russian people and hackers from getting on a Target truck and taking a bunch of Apple Watches and Apple products, using their skills and technology and buying a heat based receipt printer and making replica Target receipts, hacking into Target's computer technology and saying, yeah, these items were signed for, they were received by this store, and they were sold. What's to stop the hackers from stealing those products and returning them and them not even knowing? Obviously it would be eventually found out and they would up their security. We saw in the advent of the early 2000s, we started adding more security features to our money. The watermarks, the lines, the features that are more colorful and flashy, almost like a holograph sports card. Those are obviously designed to mitigate and make it harder to counterfeit American currency. I'm sure Target could add their security. They could make their, internet and their merchandising and their point of sale more secure. They could perhaps start printing little holographic stickers on the ends of receipts that only Target has proprietary information to. What's to stop a Russian or a Chinese hacker from breaking into, the place where they print those and stealing their technology? Or even better, getting hired to work in the facility where they make and print and design those watermarks and those security features, and not stealing hardware, but being able to understand and work with it, so then they could go back and say, here's how they do it, here's how we can replicate something similar. So there's always going to be an asymptote of people doing things and people pushing back and modifying to thwart it. It will never be cured. An asymptote will always go, it'll never touch. That's the point of the world, I believe. And when it comes to me, I believe in accountability. I don't like broad, unspecific things. I'm the kind of guy who, someone says, you know what, I got you. I'll be over there sometime tomorrow. We're going to go do something. Tomorrow could mean as early as 8 a.m. or as late as 11:59 p.m. That's not very good. Accountability and integrity can only be true and pure if there's specifics that can be called upon. Someone says, hey, I'll be at your place by noon. You're there at 12:05. How can I tell if I can trust somebody? Well, I'm sorry, I hit some traffic. You admitted you were late and you explained why. If you get there at 12, no problem. But if you get there at 12:05 and say nothing, that's a cause for a mistrust. And someone like me who's highly analytical and highly observant, it's hard to fool. But the problem is when I see the world getting so gray, we see such a graying of the world, people using a cause celebre of our time to get away with things, to get more leniency. Racism's a problem, homophobia is a problem. When people can use a cause for civil rights, I call it a cause celebre because it gets so many people worked up. It gets college girls worked up. But college girls took part in luring me over 30 East and hurting me and ruining my life. So college girls will get all worked up about racism, but homophobia they don't give a crap about. To me, I find that extremely hyper problematic. And to me, when I see equal wrong on the other side, I seek to keep it going until it's righted, until I'm given a motivation to stop. So when I see someone like Peyton and Gavin doing things that are wrong and horrible, and frankly breaking the law themselves, to me I'm like, well, I need something in return to let it go. I want college paid for, or give me a year of legal immunity. I'm the kind of guy who, say if I was speeding in a small town county and I had this other car riding on me, driving crazy. I was going 100 miles an hour, the person behind me was going 99. Say the sheriff, tries to pull me over, but in the process, the other person hits their car and they finally catch up to the person, and the person has a gun and they just robbed a family of all their valuables. To me, I was speeding for a reason. I was being, pursued. I was encountering something odd. So I broke the law, but they broke the law worse. And if that sheriff still wants to send me a ticket after everything I endured there, and after saying, well, this guy shot somebody, robbed all their belongings, they see me as an equal level of criminality to someone like that, I'd make it a point to say the police don't fear criminals. They fear people who are smart enough to know the system and know that they can game it. And they know that the cops don't fear violent criminals as much. They can stop them. A high-speed chase usually ends in the person speeding 120, hitting something. When you're going that fast, a pebble the size of a golf ball can trip your car. High-speed things like that, little mistake, your car rolls. They know eventually they'll stop you, and it will end violently, and it's over. The cops don't fear that as much as they fear someone who's smart enough to game the system and win. And to me, I'd be the kind of guy, you know what? You send me a ticket. That guy was a violent criminal. That guy took people's property. You want to stick me a ticket because I'm smart? That's fine. I'll show that you're wrong just so, just for the sake of showing you're wrong. Because the fact that you prioritize sticking it to someone who might intimidate you, who you fail to understand, to me, that's worse. To me, that's terrible. To me, you're committing yourselves to fear of what you can't control. You could control it. You pacify. I could be pacified. I want to be pacified. But here we are. Gavin Sims is a criminal. He's a vandal. He's an intimidational thug. So is Peyton Morgan. There's wrong there. Pacify me.